Today's lesson is going to be about blood groups or blood type. We have different blood groups. Each person have a certain blood group. It could be A, B, AB, or O. What happens if you cut yourself? You will bleed, but in case of the cut is not deep, you bleed until the blood clots. What is meant by blood clotting? The formation of a network of fibrin surrounding the injured area to stop bleeding. It usually doesn't take long for the blood to clot. That's because in addition to the red and white blood cells present in the blood also contains small cell fragments. These cell fragments are called platelets. So, the fragments responsible for the blood clotting are called platelets. What is the function of the platelet? They help blood to clot after an injury. Like you see here, this is a blood vessel, and these are the blood components inside the blood vessel. The platelets, when a cut happens, the platelets co-accumulate, forming a network of fibrin, to close this injured part and preventing the escaping of the red blood cells. After this, a dry leathery scab is formed. After the formation of the fibrin network, a dry leathery scab is formed and the skin gets repaired in few days. Where are the platelets produced from? They are like the red blood cells and other blood components. They are produced from the bone marrow. So, the platelets, like the red blood cells, are produced from the bone marrow. These are the platelets at an injured cut. They accumulate, like we said, to form a network of fibrin covering the injured part and preventing more blood from escaping outside the blood vessel. We said that red blood cells remain active for 120 days. What about the platelets? Platelets remain active for about a week. So they remain functional for a week, and after this week, they by the spleen and liver. In case of a very severe injury or deep injury, large amount of blood is lost. So we could need a blood transfusion from another person to compensate this huge loss of blood. But before we can make this blood transfusion, we should first identify the blood group of the patient. There are 4 blood groups: A, B, AB, and O. What makes every person has a different type of blood groups from another person? Actually, the characteristics of each of these blood groups are inherited from the parents. So, each one of us has inherited the specific blood group from his parents. Sometimes we can use the term blood type instead of the word blood group. So if someone with blood group O, you can say that his blood type is O. What is the remarkable differences between the blood groups? The remarkable difference between different blood groups is from a protein on the membrane of the red blood cells. This protein is called antigen. So each blood group has a different antigen on the membrane of its red blood cells. For example, if a person with blood type A, he will have A antigen. What is the importance of these antigens? Antigens actually stimulate the immune response inside the body, and it protects the body from any entrance of foreign proteins. The letter A and letter B stands for the type of blood surface antigens found on the human red blood cells. Like we said, blood type A will have A antigen and blood type B will have B antigen. So what is the problem if we transferred a blood type different from the patient's blood type? In the blood plasma, there is a protein called antibodies. In case that you have a blood type A, you will have the A antigen and your plasma will not contain the anti-A antibody. But in case of different blood types, they will have the anti-A antibody. So if a person with blood type A has received blood type B, the A antigen from his blood type will combine with the anti-A antibody from the different blood type which has been transferred to him, because the antibodies are shaped corresponding to the shape of the same antigen. The antibody in the blood plasma react with its matching antigen on the red blood cells membrane if they are brought in contact with each other, and this will result in a big problem, which we can call clumped blood cells, meaning that the red blood cells will coagglutinate, and in this case the blood can no longer function to transfer oxygen or nutrients. So again, we said that each blood group contains antibodies for the blood surface antigens found in other blood groups, not the same blood group. Like we said, blood type A will have, but it will not have the anti-A antibody. Why? To avoid blood clumping. A blood group does not contain antibodies for antigens found on its own red blood cells. This diagram. Type A blood, type B, type AB, and type O. Let's discuss, for example, type A and type B. Type A will have the antigen A, right? Antigen A present in blood type A. What about the antibody? It will have the anti-B antibody, but it can't have the anti-A antibody, like we said, because it will lead to blood clumping. So type A can't receive blood from type B or type AB. It can only receive blood from type A or O. Type O blood is called like a universal donor. It can donate to all other blood types. Here for type B, what would be the antigen? It would be antigen B, okay? But the antibody would be the opposite. So it will carry anti-A antibody to avoid blood clumping. So, what can be a donor for type B? Type B can receive from the same blood type, which is B, or from the universal donor, O, but it can't receive blood from type A or type AP because it will cause blood clumping and will lead to serious problems. In case of type AB, the blood type AB, antigens will be A antigens and B antigens. They will both be present on the surface, on the membrane of the red blood cells. For the antibodies, neither types of antibodies can be present in this case, because if anti-A antibody is present, it will combine with antigen A, and if anti-B antibody is present, it will combine with antigen B, and in both cases it will lead to blood clumping. So, for blood type AB, they are considered the universal recipient because they can receive any blood type. It can only receive from its type only because there is neither antigen A or B on the surface, but it has both antibodies, anti-A antibody and anti-B antibodies. So we can't transfer type A or B or AB to a person with blood type O. But at the same time, type O is a universal donor, meaning that we can transfer the blood type O to any other blood types. Again, if you have a type A blood, you will have A antigen, right? But you will have anti-B antibody. So no clumping will occur here. That's what makes your blood flows smoothly with no clumping, and it can function right. It can transport oxygen and nutrients to other body cells. So what would happen if you received a transfusion of type B and you have a blood type A? In this case, you have A antigen, and the transferred blood will have anti-A antigen bodies, right? So they will coagglutinate together, making blood clumping, and it will no longer function. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.